The Broncos have made a pair of signings this afternoon now, and we're going to break both of them down on today's show and then talk about what their plan at quarterback is. But first, let's talk about defensive tackle Malcolm Roach, just the latest player to come from New Orleans to Denver, who played under Sean Payton, drafted by Sean Payton out of Texas. Malcolm Roach signing a 2-year contract worth up to $8 million. So not serious money, $4 million a season, but also not nothing money, right? This is clearly a player that Denver identified as a legitimate rotational player and not just someone who's going to compete for a roster spot in training camp. Now, Malcolm Roach has been a 4-year New Orleans Saint. He's been a backup defensive tackle for them. I'm trying to make a nice comp to Denver, maybe like what Mike Purcell was this year, but obviously a very different stage of his career. However, he's never played more than 13 games a season. He's clearly not a very good pass rusher, and that's fine. You don't need interior defensive linemen to be that. If they are, that's just playing with house money. But he's never been on the field for that much, and I've already got him into my starting lineup because Jonathan Harris was a free agent. At the current moment, they still have DJ Jones. Do not be surprised if they move on from him to generate $10 million in cap savings. But if the plan of attack to stop the run after the Broncos' run-stopping unit last year ranked bottom 3 in the NFL is to sign, sorry, Malcolm, but Malcolm frickin' Roach? Is this a serious team? Like, I understand that it's a rebuild. They are making cuts. They are looking for bargains. They are playing Moneyball. I don't think it's going to have the cool ending that they had in Moneyball, though. Like, I don't think Brad Pitt is going to play Sean Payton in a movie in a few years. This doesn't seem like a very adequate need or a fill for the run-stopping unit. I wish they had bigger aspirations and a bigger budget to spend, and I know that they don't. But Malcolm Roach, a backup defensive tackle that's coming over because Sean Payton wants another former player of his, can they broaden their scope a little bit more? I feel like this is not making for a very, very good 2024 season. In fact, I think they're going to suck in 2024. I don't see how they are improving in any area. They're just getting worse, it feels like. I think they got worse from Russell Wilson to Jarrett Stidham. Moving on from Jerry Jeudy, it may not be a huge subtraction, but there's definitely no addition being made right there. And adding Malcolm Roach, I sure hope they're not calling it a day at the run-stopping unit with this signing here. But 2 years up to $8 million, this may be it. There may not be a DJ Reader walking through the door. That was my number one guy. Now, full transparency, we filmed a whole Broncos breakdown video. I went to sit down at my desk to have my lunch, and then they signed Malcolm Roach. So what we did here was we're just sort of Frankensteining a video. So we're going to throw it back to old me from like 20 minutes ago right now. We've got a lot of news and rumors to get to on this morning's show. But first, Michael Burton is re-signing with the Broncos on a 1-year contract. The fullback returns. Now, still waiting the contract details, but you can guess it's going to be near that vet minimum 1 year, $1.5 to $2.5-ish million contract. It's likely not going to be a big spending spree here on Michael Burton, but it's a good move for Denver. They want to run the football. You need a good fullback, and I thought Michael Burton did a good job last year in that role. So the Broncos bring back Burton at the fullback position, but now let's get into some free agency rumors because yesterday the word was Denver was looking for a quarterback, and specifically, they were looking for Sam Darnold. And ultimately, it felt like Darnold had a decision between the Broncos and the Vikings. Team in a rebuild, team with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I don't think it's a very difficult decision. Even if the Broncos gave him the exact same contract as the Vikings, 1 year, $10 million deal, not a very difficult decision to make if I were Sam Darnold between a team clearly entering some sort of rebuild versus a team like the Vikings, which I don't think is very far ahead of Denver, but they've got more offensive weapons where you can make a better resume for yourself in 2024. So after losing out on Sam Darnold, where does Sean Payton go next? I thought it would be Jameis Winston. It's not Jameis Winston. The reports from Jordan Schultz are he is close to signing a deal with the Browns. Now, Sometimes in free agency, things do fall through the cracks a little bit, but if Jameis does stay with the Cleveland Browns, as Jordan Schultz from Bleacher Report is reporting, you can cross him off your list, and that was a very obvious target since Sean Payton signed him in New Orleans to take over from Drew Brees, and ultimately, that did not really happen. Now, a quarterback signing is coming, though. That much I am almost certain about. It's just how big of a signing will it be? And we were almost at 21,000 subscribers, so a couple of reasons to subscribe. One, you don't want to miss that quarterback signing news. Two, join one of the fastest growing Broncos YouTube communities out there here at Chat Sports. Now, let's talk about some free agent quarterbacks for the Broncos. Now that Jameis Winston, Sam Darnold are off the list, it's not a pretty list. Let's not beat around the bush here. I don't think there's a great option out there. There's Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo, P.J. Walker, Joe Flacco, Josh Dobbs, Drew Lock, Tyler Huntley. Mason Rudolph ended the year on a very high note. That could be a name to watch for. Carson Wentz, Trevor Siemian, if they want to run it back with him. Let's not kid around here. These guys suck. Joe Flacco doesn't suck, but, he won Comeback Player of the Year. Let's give him his roses, although I don't know if Denver A wants to run back the Joe Flacco experience, and B, if they feel like he can continue playing the way he ended the 2023 season. So there's not a great option out here. That should be no surprise. When you moved on from Russell Wilson and you took on that major dead cap hit, you knew what you were getting into. You knew that you were not going to be a big spender in free agency. You also spent 2 years, $10 million on Jarrett Stidham last year. I don't think you should completely abandon that one just yet. You only played him 2 games last season. But if Denver is serious about bringing in a free agent quarterback, the best idea I've got is maybe one of these two guys, Ryan Tannehill or Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll also flirt with Mason Rudolph. I don't think the Steelers bring him back after signing Russell Wilson. But both of these guys sucked last year. But I do think Sean Payton is not looking for a project. He is looking for a bridge quarterback if they draft a rookie to help him develop under. And he may feel like Tannehill or Jimmy Garoppolo, with their experience, can run his offense better than any other free agent or rookie quarterback could. But if we're really going to find ourselves in a spot where we are bickering and arguing about who's better, Ryan Tannehill or Jimmy Garoppolo, we're going to be debating what's smelling worse. Throw up or shit. They're both bad. I don't know how else to put this, guys. There's not a good plan out there at quarterback, which is why I was very critical of the decision to move on from Russell Wilson, because no, Russell Wilson was not living up to the contract. No, this team was not going to go win playoff games with Russell Wilson, but I also felt like what better option was out there for you? At some point, I think you just got to swallow the pill and go, there's no better choice for us in 2024. Let's stick with Russell Wilson, maybe draft a quarterback if one falls to us that we like, and then really attack it head on in 2025 when we're not taking on an $85 million dead cap hit. But instead, Sean Payton decided to rip the Band-Aid off, and now we find ourselves in a position where I don't know what his draft board is looking like, but I don't think his free agency board is shaking out very well. May have had a big go with Sam Darnold plan after sitting in San Francisco for a year. Maybe he learned a ton of stuff from Shanahan and Brian Griese, but now that's not a plan. So that's not a possibility. So we'll see where he pivots. Maybe it's a Justin Fields trade, which we're going to talk about next on the show. But which QB do you want Denver to sign or pursue? There is Sam Howell. That name just popped to my head right now. There are some options out there. I don't know if Denver wants to trade for a quarterback, right? If you're trading for a quarterback, you are giving up draft capital. And the Broncos may not feel like they're in a spot to give up draft capital for a one-year project, right? If you trade for a quarterback and you're giving up, decent draft capital, I'm talking more than just a 7th or a 6th, there should be some level of confidence in that quarterback could be our long-term fix. Otherwise, is there really a good strategy of just throwing picks around if you don't have at least a 50% level of confidence that he could be your guy? Which lands us to Justin Fields. He has not been traded. The popular destination were his hometown Falcons. They signed Kirk Cousins, a quarterback Denver was reportedly kicking the tires on, but ultimately he got way outpriced by the Broncos from the Falcons. Now, Justin Fields' value is falling, and maybe Denver was A, not interested in Fields very much, just didn't feel like it was a good fit for Sean Payton's offense. B, not interested in the asking price for Justin Fields, so they just never really had a deep conversation about the trade. But now we find ourselves in a position where whatever the Bears were asking for a month ago surely has dropped. As Kirk Cousins has signed and a bunch of other quarterbacks are signing, quarterback vacancies are getting filled. So the Bears are now in a spot where it's slim pickings for a team still searching for a quarterback that's not going to definitely get one in the draft. And maybe Denver at 12 feels like, listen, we weren't even going to play ball earlier because you wanted a second for Fields. We didn't have a second to give for Fields. We didn't love Justin Fields. But after looking at it again, Justin Fields for a whole lot cheaper, that might change Sean Payton's tune, right? He may now look at Justin Fields a whole different way because initially he looked at Justin Fields as the quarterback that's going to cost me a second or a third. Whoa, Nelly. Maybe he looks at Justin Fields a whole lot differently, thinking that's not a quarterback that's going to cost me a second and a third. And I'm willing to take a chance on Justin Fields if it's not going to be a substantial price in free agency. So all of a sudden, Sean Payton might come in with a different opinion on Fields, knowing this isn't going to be a very expensive trade target. So this was the trade idea I came up with. Broncos get Justin Fields. The Bears get a 4th-round pick. It's definitely not what Chicago wanted or expected a month or so ago, but I don't know what better offer they're going to get. I don't know if Justin Fields is going to find a team that trades for him to be their starter. So maybe Denver looks at this the way Dallas looked at Trey Lance last year, which was, we see talent, there's work to be done, but a 4th-round pick, if it doesn't work out, we're not too deep in the shitter because we didn't give up a second or a third. And if it does work out and he's the quarterback of our dreams, all of a sudden we got Patrick Surtain, Justin Fields in the same draft, and it cost me a 1st and a 4th. That may be something where Sean Payton goes, that's too good of a value to pass on. Like, that's buying a lottery ticket, but instead of it being 1 in a billion chance, maybe it's 1 in 100 chance. And I'm willing to spend a lottery ticket on that type of odds. So would you do this trade? Let me know in the comments section below. Justin Fields for a 4th. I like Justin Fields as a quarterback. I think he's the real deal. I think he is a franchise starting quarterback. I think he got a bit of a raw deal in Chicago with the head coach and GM drafting him and then being fired a year later. I don't think Matt Eberflus is a good head coach. I don't think Luke Getsy made a good offensive coordinator. And I also think Justin Fields has plenty of things on his own end to work on. It's not a perfect fit in Denver. Sean Payton is not looking for a younger version of Russell Wilson, but maybe he feels like he can mold Justin Fields better than he was able to mold Russell Wilson, because you know the saying, it's hard for an old dog to learn new tricks. And maybe he feels like I can still get my hands on Fields early in his career where I can get him to where I want him to be as a quarterback, and then I'll take all the uber awesome athleticism and playmaking abilities that Fields has. Again, not a perfect fit, not a quarterback we have really done extensive conversations about on the channel because it never felt like that would be a Sean Payton quarterback target. But maybe Sean Payton for a day 3 pick changes his mind on Justin Fields. So I think ultimately you might see Justin Fields get traded during or after the NFL draft. I think there are going to be teams like the Broncos that go into the draft. And there's always a sleeper team or two looking to take a quarterback. Right? Remember the Philadelphia Eagles when they took Jalen Hurts in round 2? Like, not many people had that on their bingo card. So there's a chance that during the draft or after the draft, one of those sleeper teams that was looking for a quarterback, if they don't get the quarterback of their dreams, maybe they decide Justin Fields is a good plan B after the draft. So that could be a timeline for when Justin Fields gets traded. All right, that will do it for us. Hopefully we have some more content coming your way as the Broncos are likely not going to be big spenders in free agency, but no one likes being the Dallas Cowboys of free agency where you just wait for your team to do something. And I think all they've done is re-sign their long snapper. So we'll take a safety signing and hopefully a few more as well.